Hello there, and welcome back to our, maximum weight challenge here. That's basically what it is. We are kind of up the odds from last year. We're running 40 kilogram car versus 0 kilogram car, and that's already kind of actually translated here in the car performance. We're the best tire preservation team. We are the slowest team in corners and in terms of 30 air, but I think this is going to be a fun little season to see if we can actually win something with the, hopefully it's going to be the best, or rather fastest car of this year. Basically, we're going to be gambling on tire preservation being the key here for us to be able to take this championship. Now, Red Bull is in the lead. Leclerc and Hamilton hasn't had the best of starts here. And we're up again against Alonso. So, yeah, things are going to get a little bit spicy. We've also saved the F1 wheel from Schumacher because I need affiliates. So, we're going to go ahead and hire him. But yeah, today we're going to continue. It's been a little while. Apologies for that. Just been a busy life. Probably have gotten back to having too many things to focus on at once, which is a bad habit of mine. But we are now back here and we are going to continue this season. And we'll have to make a decision here probably at the halfway point if we go for research or if we gamble on trying to get this done in this season. But for now, we're just going to vote for the complete chassis overhaul, 70% to the chassis, 50% to everything else. But yeah, we have China in 11 days. We are currently doing some work on designs. Nothing that is going to be done. Well, I guess it is done today. It was, my bad. But yeah, we do now have a very tiny upgrade here on the front wing. You can kind of see it here, just minus 01, 01. A little bit more tire preservation, which is not a worst thing ever. I think we're actually going to manufacture this one. And we'll take a look and see, can we improve on that front wing further? And if we do, what kind of improvement are we actually looking at? So in this case, it would be +8, +3, +8. I think it would be worth it. We can, of course, do what we did with the previous one, which is basically just focus tire preservation. As you can see here, the gains are significantly lowered. So I think our front wing has kind of reached its peak at 269, 07. So if we compare that to the current one equipped in the car, which we can do with a relative ease, the current one compared to this one, it would be a small gain, but I don't think it's going to be worth it to make another front wing like that. So what I think we'll do instead is we'll just gamble on suspension. We need to get this tire preservation a little bit higher. We probably want to maybe even go as far as making just a pure tire preservation front wing. Essentially, we do lose a lot of low speed cornering though, to the point where it probably is going to lose us more time than gain from the tire preservation itself. Basically, if we make another front wing, we just gain the high speed. Tire preservation, we gain about 0.4%. But I think we'll not do that. Instead, I think what we might need to do here is, as I mentioned, focus a few projects into trying to get the tire preservation up for the suspension. I think that could be a good idea. You can already see here 2.6%. The higher we get this, the better for us, because tire preservation and top speed is generally the only way that we're going to be finding the AI this year. And as I mentioned here, we'll have to see, probably by the time we get to Silverstone, if we do a full switch to research. The AI is still pretty bad at that, so it shouldn't be a terrible idea to swap then. The earlier you start, the better, particularly in big research change season. But for us here, it's not going to be a huge deal. We should still be able to manage relative ease. We're also good here on components. We are probably manufacturing the last underfloor here, so it looks like we are fine. And I'm a little bit unsure where I want to use the next safety period, because as I mentioned, it's kind of hard to judge at the moment what is going to be effective. But yeah, China's in 11 days. We have nothing coming up before that. Cycles are going to be done after China. What we can do before we get going here is probably go and take a look at Stroll and Schumacher, who we've now kind of spared the rest of the grid for, which sounds terrible, but in context of the game it makes sense, and we are going to put Schumacher on marketability to cover that angle. But yeah, let us speed along here. China, let's see how that race goes. As it turns out, we actually got this sideboard design before we went to China, which is interesting. But as you can see, there's probably still one or two more of these sideboards that we want to design before we actually manufacture one. But let's just get started on the next one. We had an event basically that sped things up by a week, and that's why we got it a little bit earlier than anticipated. But honestly, I can't complain. It is going to be helping us a little bit. So, yeah, can't be too upset. What we could do here, however, to get a little bit more performance is sacrifice engine cooling. And honestly, we might do that on the final edition. For now, we'll want to try and get a little bit more out of it. But once your engine cooling reaches 60, 70%, you're basically safe. And we're up at closer to 80. So sacrifice some cooling for more performance could definitely work out here. And we might get punished for it at the end of the year. That's basically the cooling relationship. But I think this could be a very, very decent sideboard to attach to the car. Almost 50 kph. We'll have to see how that translates compared to our rivals. But it should help with making this car a lot faster. So let's just go ahead and get this made. And now we'll finally head to China. For the sprint here in China, we are second row and down in sixth. A little bit helped by the AI just not doing qualifying. As you can see, the last three are Pocher, Verstappen, and Norris didn't actually, well, Norris didn't participate at all. Pocher had a bad run, didn't do a second one. And as you can see, Verstappen had a terrible run, including a spin, and that put him further down the order. So AI bad at doing a second run in sprint qualifying isn't really surprising, but Norris not doing a run at all is not what we like to see. For the sprint here, I think, again, we are just going to have to do the light here. Running light may feel like a cheat to a lot of people, and I can kind of agree, but it is the best way to get value out of your money, particularly if you're making a tire preservation car. It's just how it works, which, again, sounds like a cop-out, but it's true. So let's see what we can do. For now, though, we are just going to push at the start. We're going to go light the entire way, probably until the last 5-6 laps. And that should be good enough for us. We're also starting a very high confidence, which is good. With the setup here not being perfect, that's better than we anticipated.
Here we go, the sprint in Shanghai. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Lights out, away we go. We're going to immediately put both our drivers to high overtake aggression. And for Leclerc here, he actually had a pretty decent start, overtaking the Red Bull, but Red Bull might get that lead back here unless we send him to the Shadow Realm. Yeah, it looks like Leclerc's in a good spot. Unfortunately, Hamilton did lose out one position, but that's not really a huge deal. He is going to probably claw that back immediately. And for Verstappen, he actually has some car damage that we'll take a look at after this first lap to see exactly how bad it is. But it is a good start here. We've had Lawson in a crash here with someone else. A good start to the session, so to speak. Danny Rick. Would assume Lawson is behind. Yeah, Lawson locks up and hits the hands in the back. Nothing major there. No safety car. No changes to the race itself. Let's just put it like that. But yeah, DRS is now active. We have Verstappen across the line. I just want to take a quick look here and see what exactly is the problem with Verstappen. It is his engine. That's kind of huge for us, seeing that he is running Red Bull engines. And, well, they do degrade quite quick. This has been a good start. We're just going to sit back, relax, allow kind of our drives to do their own thing. Maybe give Hamilton a little bit of a wedge here, a little bit of a push, as he is getting left behind. But with DRS, he should clear Bottas with relative ease, and then he can start moving up the grid order here. And just like that, we have cleared Bottas, and also closed the gap a little bit to the cars ahead. But we're probably going to need a little bit more work here. Not going to lie, as Leclerc has been overtaken, but let's face it, they're going to go back and forth there quite a lot. And it's not something that I am against. It's actually going to help us in the long run. Once we reach 0.4 here, or yeah, minus negative 0.4, we basically just turn down our cars a little bit because we do need to save fuel till the end. We'll have to see what Hamilton can do if he can get back on the podium. Alonso is running away. He's just been a beast in the series so far. And he's proving again here why he is. But we'll have to see just how badly they ruin the mediums. If they ruin them too much, we might still have a very, very good chance here. We now have a virtual safety car, which might cause us a little bit of pain here because it's going to allow the rest of the grid to save their tires a bit. Magnussen unfortunately lost control there and took himself out, but as mentioned, unfortunately this does cause a little bit of pain for us, because that means that, as mentioned, they can save the tires a little bit. We have about a 15% advantage at the moment, but with the gaps being as big as they are, they weren't this big before the virtual safety car. And if you take a look at the last lap here, 3 seconds gained for the top teams. That's not great. Basically, a virtual safety car probably hit us at a bad time. Let's say at the start of a straight while they, got to the end of it. And that's a little bit problematic, but we'll just have to deal with it best as we can. I think this means Leclerc is not getting a win here. It just isn't going to happen. And for Hamilton, the best that we can probably hope for is going to be maybe 4th. Race control, the virtual safety car is ending. We have how many laps? Can we start pushing? Not yet, really. So we're just going to deploy, and we are going to be pushing fuel. And that's literally going to be kind of limit here of what we can do. Looks like the virtual safety car did kind of end on a good spot though for Leclerc, because he's closed down the gap to Piastri by a little bit. That's what we like to see. But yeah, we need to push, get some heat back into these tires. For Leclerc, turning up standard here might be the play, at least until he reaches 90 degrees, which is when he'll get back to a positive temperature. And for Hamilton there, not close enough to get the overtake done. Probably will be close enough now at the start of the next lap. Leclerc was considering a move there. Show-off's mechanical fault has escalated. We might get another safety car here, which, again, is kind of bad for us. In a scenario where we don't need a safety car, for us, a safety car is actually terrible news. Yes, we're almost back at the temperature we want to be, Leclerc, don't worry. But yeah, for now, unfortunately, Ocon is being a little bit of a nuisance, I guess I can put it. And there's not really much we can do here. We're just going to have to try and manage for a couple more laps. Then we're probably going to go full attack. Degradation while full attack, yeah, I don't exactly remember how bad it is. So let's see if I can figure it out. This rate, we need this much basically from here to survive going full attack. I think we just about have it. But I think we do another lap or so. Probably 2 more laps. Lap 16 is when we start really pushing. Just to be on the safe side. I do sometimes save a little bit too much tire. That's because you lose so much time if you sacrifice too much. And I'd rather lose a little bit of tire doing a little bit of light than throw away the race by pushing too aggressively too early. But yeah, maybe halfway through lap 15 is when we will start being a little bit more aggressive here. Hamilton is catching up. We are running about a second quicker than Alonso and Piastri. 4 laps remaining with fuel. That should translate into having a very, very good chance at making something happen. So we're taking it a little bit easy. To be fair though, those mediums aren't that worn. So we don't really have a tire advantage at the moment. This does not exist, but it is time. Lap 16 is starting. Full attack is on the menu. Let's see what we can do here. Leclerc is closing down on Piastri, but Alonso is extending that gap out front. So for Leclerc, clearing Piastri on this straight is going to be critical, I think, because gaining more than a second a lap is going to be very, very difficult, even if we do go full send. I guess it looks like Leclerc is just doing a very simple drive-by, if you will. But yeah, Hamilton now, it's going to have Ocon, and then we're going to have the same deal. Leclerc on that last lap gained 2.6 seconds on Alonso. Of course, much of it was with the help of DRS. But that is kind of how you want to, how you have to do things, really. The thing with Leclerc too is I want him to catch up to Alonso. But I think we're going to have to do a DRS swap here. I don't know if Piastri is going to make this happen. Doesn't really look like it. We're going to deploy a little bit here, make sure that we stay ahead. Close that 1 second gap before the last lap. And again, we can't really dislodge Piastri, which is a shame, because that would give Hamilton a much better chance of getting him. Right now, we're not really quick enough to make that happen, if you will. Leclerc should be able to get Alonso here, and Piastri has been left behind. Just need to make sure here that we do have enough fuel. As Leclerc does send it up the inside, it does get the move made. And now he just needs to stay ahead. We're going to save energy because most likely we are going to get re-overtaken here. No, Leclerc might be able to keep him in check. We'll have to see. Can he do it? And for Hamilton here, we just deploy. There's 2 seconds behind into Verstappen. There's 2 seconds ahead to Piastri. Just need to deploy and try and make the best out of it. Same here actually for Leclerc. We're just going to deploy, try and create a little bit of a big gap by the time we get to the DRS zone. Doesn't look like that's happening. Should deploy probably a little bit earlier.
So we're low on battery at the moment.
This is not looking amazing, but I think Leclerc is kind of... No, you let him in. You opened the door, Leclerc. That's not great. But yeah, I probably should have deployed a little bit earlier. But then again, we're not getting away from the Red Bull, really. It's the best car in terms of cornering, best car in terms of top speed. Us being just a second behind is actually kind of good enough, I dare say. Hamilton 4th gives us hope for the weekend itself. We qualified. Probably should have qualified between 6th and 10th with both cars. I'm not lying. So we'll see how qualifying goes for the race itself here. Let me just say here that qualifying could have gone a lot better. We qualified 8th and 16th, which, to be fair, Leclerc's probably kind of around where we should be. While Hamilton had a pretty terrible run in Q1, ended up 16th, just got barely knocked out. It's not a good look, let's be honest, it's pretty bad. Now, we're kind of doing a little bit of a different strategy for both these guys because, well, for Leclerc, it's probably something of the fastest we can come up with. We could potentially do a, say, medium on full attack into a lighter soft, into another medium, and honestly, that's probably going to be faster. And it is, so that's probably what we're going to be doing. But yeah, I'm a little bit unsure how I want to play this. I think for Leclerc here, we are just going to put him on the light soft to begin with, and then run 2 mediums, because again, you start at temperature. So you skip that whole warming the tire phase where you do lose a little bit of time. And this should work out just fine. Basically, we'll avoid a lot of the pit troubles. We'll be able to have fresher tires towards the end. And honestly, I think this is going to work out just fine for us. So we'll do that for Leclerc. We're doing something similar to Hamilton. But because he's starting so far back, we're kind of trying to pit early here in order to get him hopefully undercutting a lot of cars ahead. That's going to be the hope here. Points for Hamilton would be great. Anything in top 5 I will accept. Leclerc on the podium would be amazing. But let's face it here, Alonso has been a beast. Let's see if he continues that here. And just to describe how much of a beast he's been, he was the 2nd ahead of 3rd place in qualifying.
For the Chinese Grand Prix.
Bottas on front row there. It's kind of weird.
And it's lights out, and away we go.
But that is an amazing start from him. Gets Alonso immediately. Leclerc also has a good one. Gets 1 position here. Alonso does get bumped down. Bottas could play a really, really good role here for us. And I've actually completely forgot to underfuel the car. So we're going to have to push here probably to a -2 kilograms. We're going to basically end up running pretty balanced here. Completely forgot to do all the setup apparently. I guess I'm a little bit rusty. Apologies. But this should be good. Magnussen already has a major failure to his car. That's not good.
Well, yeah, right. It certainly looks like they've developed a fault.
Gearbox or ERS. But basically, Magnussen could cause a safety car quite early, and that would be that would make things interesting. Let's just put it like that. Now, Norris has actually lost 2 seconds to the top 5 here, which is bad for us. But we are having a lot of helping hands here. Verstappen is holding them up with his poor engine. We have Bottas running ahead of everyone. Leclerc should be able to close the gap again. Hamilton losing a position is surprising, to say the least here. But the race has just begun. We're going to have to see if we can kind of turn around the bad luck here. I have created a problem for us. Let's just put it like that. And hopefully I can find the way back, as Norris does overtake us there and makes us lose a lot of time. But yeah, I'll do my best to keep things going. Let's see how we look once we get to the first pit stop, or if Magnussen's car explodes before that. Let's see what happens here. On the 8th lap in this race, Hamilton has found his way back into the points. So it looks like he's going to have a pretty decent race here. He's just 10 seconds off the lead. He is moving it forwards, is what we like to see. And for Leclerc, he is being kind of slowed down a little bit by Pourchaire, but honestly, it shouldn't be a big deal. And we should be able to potentially here close down the gap to the top here. Alonso has already destroyed his softs here. Same with Verstappen. Bottas is going long on some hards. So things are going to be fairly interesting here, because a lot of these cars are going to be pitting really, really early, and honestly, a lot of them might actually end up pitting before Hamilton does. So undercutting is going to be difficult here. Tsunoda and Ocon is probably going to be who we're going to be hoping for, but we'll have to see. A lot of the cars further back as well are going to be pitting fairly early, so potentially here, we're not going to have a lot of traffic. But we'll have to see how things look once the rest of the grid starts pitting. We're probably going to be reactionary rather than pitting before everyone else. It's highly dependent, though, on when Hamilton's tires do explode. And as you can see, we are having a higher degradation than anticipated, and that's kind of a bad thing, because that means we might have to change things around once we get to the next stint here. We might have to consider something other than a medium, maybe a hard. The first wave of pit stops is occurring here, with Pourchaire having pitted, Sainz, who we were running just side by side to. So what I think we're going to have to do here for Hamilton is actually deploy, and degradation is high enough that this is not going to work. So we're actually going to be putting him on a hard, because let's face it, it's 7/10 difference. But if we want to run anything aggressive here, we are going to have to put him on a hard tire. The degradation here on the medium is just too high. He has been in traffic, which has had an effect. But with degradation as it is, I think hard is going to be the best option here, unfortunately for him. And it's just how things are. For Leclerc, we're going to have to make a similar decision later on. We might have to run a soft into a medium into another soft. But that's a problem for later. Let's just put it like that. But yeah, for Hamilton now, is push, use everything you have so you can, not get undercut. And right now, Tsunoda is making that a little bit difficult. For Leclerc, we're still good just running as we are. We're going to turn him down to balanced. We might need to run a couple of conserve laps at the end, but that shouldn't be a huge deal. And yeah, we are going to need DRS now for Hamilton to get in the pits and hopefully get out ahead of Sainz, who is really, really far down the order. If we can get out ahead of Gio, that would actually be huge. But yeah, unfortunately, no overtake. Pretty slow. That is a little bit problematic. Piastri having the lead here, though, is actually kind of huge. He is still second in championship, though, so we can't really call it a universal good thing. Pourchaire does get ahead of us. And for Hamilton here, he does get both Gio and Sainz. So a fairly decent stop. We have a lot of fresh air. Remember, Pourchaire was battling with Leclerc, but probably lost a little bit of time because of the failure here. But undercut might very well be on the menu. We'll have to see exactly how things pan out here once we get a few more cars in the pits. Norris has been jumped. Well, not really jumped. I think we already were ahead of Norris. But yeah, so far it is looking rather good for Hamilton. I'm not going to lie. If we look at the expected pit times here, 25 seconds. So Hamilton right now could jump 25 seconds ahead, which would translate to basically behind Ocon, between Ocon and Tsunoda. He has undercut Tsunoda at the moment, and if things go our way, we might actually get Ocon too. What are we doing here? A 39 blank versus a 40.6. That's 1.5 seconds quicker. 3 laps here, and he's in range of getting Ocon, who's actually in the pits right now. So probably not going to get that done, but we're getting a lot of free clearance here. We had just a couple of seconds of Ocon, so if he'd stayed out for 2 more laps, Hamilton might very well have gotten him. So it is looking good up into 9th or 8th, depending how you look at it. Norris being a little bit of a problem. But so far, I think we can be really, really happy with how this race has started, particularly considering the bad qualifying. Let's see how Hamilton does. We have a little bit more time before we pit Leclerc. And right now he's running second, but honestly he's net fifth, maybe sixth. But tire advantage towards the end is hopefully going to be enough to make the difference. It is time for us to get Leclerc in the pits here. We've kept him out probably a lot longer than we should. Also, to be on the safe side here, I have turned him down to just aggressive on those mediums to be on the safe side. And he's probably actually going to come out behind Hamilton and Norris here, but I think we will be able to get the time back here. I think it's going to be a huge issue as Pocher blasts by, because time-wise, we will now have an advantage till the end. And that advantage, while not massive, should be enough to probably turn this into a podium. But even that is going to be a little bit challenging. But it is what it is. We'll do our best here. Virtual safety car, as Albon has had an incident, meaning that we have, once again, been a little bit poorly timed in terms of pitting. But let's face it, we wouldn't have stayed out another lap anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I guess luckily Albon didn't take out the Aston Martin there, and we only got a virtual. But yeah, it is what it is. Are we going to see other cars pit now? No one is taking the leap here. We could gamble with Hamilton, but as you saw earlier, we saved 3 seconds, so it's not really worth it. But we're going to do a little bit of harvesting here for Hamilton, who's sitting behind Norris. And hopefully we can, with that, create a little bit of gap here. Because I'm not going to lie, Hamilton has been slowing down because he's been stuck behind Norris. So hopefully we can clear him this time around with a little bit of extra energy, a little bit of extra oomph. But yeah, Magnussen is still a little bit of a wild card here. I haven't actually checked what kind of damage he has. So let's take a quick look. It's the ERS. So even if the ERS goes boom, it's actually not going to end this race. So yeah, he's safe for the time being. But yeah, not really much we can do here. We're going to try and push Leclerc back up. Hamilton is kind of in a good spot. He's going to need to put in a little bit extra work. But honestly, again, there's not really much we can do here. We just have to do our best and try and manage. The car is the worst car in terms of cornering, so it's going to make this a little bit challenging for us. We are getting closer here to our final pit stop as we see both Ocon and Norris pit. And honestly, I'm going to deploy a little bit with Leclerc because we want to try and help. Well, Leclerc's actually behind, so it doesn't actually help. I wanted to try and pull Hamilton along here because we're going to pit him now. We're going to get him on that soft tire. And for Leclerc, I think we can actually just go full attack now and burn these tires. The virtual safety car has helped a little bit. It is in clean air, so it shouldn't be a huge deal. And honestly, I would just DRS pulling Hamilton along, if anything. A lot of cars are pitting. Alonso, Bottas are also doing their final pit stops as we speak. However, they are done with them and leaving by the time we enter. And that's a little bit problematic in terms of trying to catch them. But Hamilton here should come out just side by side with Sainz and hopefully ahead of the gaggle, but we failed to do that. We do come out ahead of Norris though, but yeah, we needed to be a little bit quicker there, honestly. That is a good 6 cars that we failed to beat by a second. I thought we would actually get ahead of them, but most of these are going to be pitting. Ocon is the only exception, and we should see that pit stop happen within the next couple of laps here. So maybe not the worst thing. Hamilton can now just kind of sit behind, recharge battery once we catch up, get a little bit more heat into tires while taking care of them. So all in all, it's not the worst thing ever, as Leclerc does that fastest lap with the help of the ERS. 3 seconds gain on Piastri and Verstappen. And, well, let's face it, all 3 cars, they do need to pit still. We have gotten here yet another virtual safety car, as Magnussen has crashed for the 2nd time this weekend. I believe it is a nearly identical crash to the first time around too. That's a bit of a shame, but it is a virtual safety car. A lot of cars now are going to take the opportunity to pit. I don't think we can afford to do that. I think we'll save more by just staying out, getting an advantage towards the end. So that is exactly what we'll be doing with Leclerc. But I would imagine that, let's say, a lot of these guys would actually take the opportunity. 30% Pocher, 30% Hulk, 40% Gasly and Tsunoda, Piastri, Verstappen. I would imagine all of those should take the lunge in this scenario, and they aren't, which is unfortunate. But it is just how things are. Virtual safety car is ending. Leclerc is in the twisted section. Fortunately, I don't think we're gaining any time. A little bit on Piastri maybe, because he was still middle of the straight. But yeah, not the worst place for a virtual safety car to end. And again, Leclerc does have a tyre advantage at the moment. Piastri pits now, just as it ends. That's poorly timed. But Bottas and Alonso, probably the biggest candidates to win this one. We are going to have a lot of work ahead of us here. Not really any other way around it. As Hamilton actually gets up into 7th there. And remember, Hamilton is done pitting. He just needs to do his best here to close the gaps ahead. And he's doing a fairly good job of that. The time here has finally come to pit Leclerc. He is 5 seconds off the leaders. He's going to be 30 seconds by the time he's done with this pit. And it's actually going to be basically closer to Hamilton. In terms of time, we're going to have a pretty huge advantage over Bottas, Piastri, well, Verstappen, Ocon as well. We're going on a medium here, full attack till the end. But let's face it, it's not going to be amazing. If anything, the only thing we can hope for here is getting Piastri. 21 laps to go. We are going to need to close the gap here by, what would this be, 14, 15 seconds? A little under a second a lap, which is doable, particularly with Verstappen having a engine problem. Use softs, use medium versus a fresh medium here. Could make miracles happen, but I won't promise anything. And honestly, for Hamilton here, it's just going to be management till the end and try and make something happen here. He's honestly in a decent enough spot. He is far behind the rest. There's just no way around that. But with Ocon pulling a spin there, both of our drivers kind of get a freebie. And I'll happily take that. But yeah, in terms of pace here, we are 33.7, 35.3, 35.6, almost 2 seconds quicker than Alonso. A little less than a second quicker than Piastri and Verstappen, which is, again, kind of what we needed here. Just 10 laps to go. Is my math off? Yes, my math is off terribly. It's not 20 laps, it's 10. Oh my god. That's embarrassing. And I should feel bad. But yeah, that makes it a little bit more challenging. We need Leclerc to close down a little bit over a second lap then. And we need even more than what he's currently giving us. But it's gonna be rough. Let's face it, it's gonna be a rough one. For Hamilton, again, it's kind of management. I don't think we're catching any car ahead, so it's just manage tires, stay with Ocon, get him in the end on advantage. There's no other move really that is applicable for us here, unfortunately. And for Leclerc, unfortunately, I think the podium is out of reach. Bottas sailing up here as an unlikely contender is kind of amazing. Not gonna lie. And now Porsche 2 has a issue here that has escalated. Yeah, I think I need to just deploy with Leclerc here. There's 4 laps remaining. We just need to try and use everything that we have to catch up. And even everything we have might not be enough here to catch Verstappen. For Hamilton, he's doing a very good job keeping Ocon at bay. Don't really need to worry too much there. We have energy, we have fuel, we have tyre. But for now, we've actually used everything Leclerc has. And even that isn't good enough. We just had the same time as Verstappen. 4 seconds quicker than Bottas though. But let's face it, Bottas is not the one that we're trying to reach here. I assume Verstappen has some back market DRS help to make that happen. Considering the tyre differential. For Hamilton here, honestly, just going full send now is going to be the best move. Create a gap to Ocon immediately here and not give him any chance to get back in this fight. Gio could also turn into a pretty nasty shield here if we get him at the right time. And we kind of do that with the DRS. Leclerc did get Verstappen actually, but now he's facing the problem of not having DRS for the rest of this fight. And that's going to be a problem in its own right. I'm surprised Verstappen's fault hasn't escalated. He's ran a sprint now, he's ran a race, and it's still on yellow. Okay, we are getting close here now. We are just going to deploy what little power we have left to try and make a move. And honestly, if I'd underfueled the car, I think we probably would end up on the podium here. That's just how much time you kind of save doing that. And we've had a crash here. Crash on the main straight. It wouldn't be the leaders, would it? It is! I don't know if I want to call that a crash, just a
Yeah.
bit of bullying there from Bottas. Is he going to pick up a penalty, though? Wait, did Alonso still win?
Alonso has done it. Fernando Alonso is today's Grand Prix winner.
I thought Bottas bullied Alonso. Unfortunately, Leclerc does not get Verstappen. Hamilton ends up 6th.
And checkered flag.
I might need to watch a replay of that, but I thought it was the Aston bullying the Red Bull.
Focus on this and next one.
For some reason, I really struggle to be consistent.
Unless it's the backmarker Aston of Lawson, which it could have been.
And among the drivers returning now is Charles Leclerc.
That's unfortunate though. 5th and 6th here is not what we were hoping for. It's an improvement from where we started, and honestly, in the worst car on the grid, in terms of cornering, it's a decent enough result. But yeah, Alonso is kind of looking unbeatable so far. We're going to need to have his car implode a little bit. We're going to need to try and get some better performances out of Hamilton, unfortunately. They're still 2nd, but Red Bull extended the gap by nearly 20 points this race weekend. Hopefully it goes a little bit better in Miami. The Miami Spring Quali gave us a little bit of an upset here as Bottas lines up front row with Porsche, of all people. And let's put it this way, Alonso didn't have the best run, ending up 4th. Hamilton did pretty amazing this time around though, 5th. It was a wet qualifying though, which caused problems for Leclerc. 2 bad runs, saw him out in, well, SQ2. And even worse for Verstappen, he didn't do a single run and decided to sit this one out. I don't know if he's starting from the pit lane, but I would kind of expect that with the engine damage that he has and the fact that he didn't do quali. And also Piastri had a pretty bad one, so at least we're not the only one who suffered. But Alonso's still here, and he's going to be the main rival to beat. But Bottas is coming up as a surprising dark horse, actually, in Aston. It's kind of surprising how well they're doing. So that one is going to be interesting as well. Now, for the sprint here, we are going to just have to kind of do the same thing that we are doing. We have to manage, get a tire advantage. That's literally all we can do. And the Softset are going to do that job just fine. That is what we're going to stick with. We're going to run light. We're going to push and deploy at the start of the sprint here. Pretty similar stuff to what we usually do. Honestly, there's not really a lot of variety in the strategy, and I do apologize for that. But if we're min-max something like the Max to Weight Challenge, I have to try and be more min-maxed than usual. And that kind of sucks. There we are. We're going to go high overtake aggression for both of our boys here. Not the best start for Leclerc, for Hamilton. Also not the best start, getting a little bit challenged there by Ocon. For Verstappen, he did not start in the pits. He's still running a bit of a damaged engine. Piastri ended up actually falling behind him. And Leclerc did lose out a position here at the start. But apart from that, we remain fairly stable, I dare say. As Hamilton retains his position. But we do need Leclerc here to at least score a point or two, I think. If we want to have any chance of winning anything here. But right now, if things continue like that, it does definitely seem like we are going to need to invest a little bit in research and try next year. But that is, again, a decision for Silverstone, basically. Hamilton, though, is launching attack here on the McLaren and gets that done with relative ease. There is a medium runner here in Alonso. The rest are all running soft with the exception of Giovinazzi. So we actually have 2 of them. Gonna be curious to see exactly how that's gonna work out. It means Alonso could be really, really quick at the end. So it could actually work out really, really well for them. We'll have to wait and see. As Leclerc gets back up to 13th. Albon next. But over the next 17 laps, there's not really much here to do for me. I'm just gonna try and manage ERS, manage fuels. And then we'll see where we're at once we get to the end of this sprint. We've had a crash here involving Max Verstappen. So we're gonna have to take a look at that. Oh, has that been Russell? If that was Russell, that would kind of be funny, but yeah. It's basically just a joke, but it does in fact look like it was Russell. I think. The other Mercedes is Porsche, and he's far up the road. I don't know how he's gotten ahead again of Verstappen, but he did kind of launch a attack there. and it destroys front wing a little bit, so I do assume it's him. He has terminal damage.
Okay, in front, Magnussen.
What exactly happened to your car? We'll have to wait for you to cross the road here. It was in fact Russell that launched an attack on Verstappen. And yeah, it's kind of funny in a bad way. I shouldn't be laughing. But he does have a puncture, which slows down the cars behind even further. And it does have some terminal damage. Verstappen has 10% on his tires. C2 is going to fit here. He's not having a good weekend, honestly. But yeah, I would like to see what kind of damage Russell has picked up here for it to be terminal. Let's hope he crosses the line before he goes into his pit box. He's actually pitting. Sorry that I'm focusing a little bit on Russell here, but it's kind of curious to just see what he has, what he's done to his car here. So, is it just a tires that are terminal? I guess. Basically, his tires became terminal. Okay. I guess that kind of makes sense as Hamilton overtakes Bottas there, gets up into second place. Still 4 seconds up to Alonso, but 20% tire advantage might be enough to make that happen. And for Leclerc right now, if we can clear these two, we might be able to get Porsche and Norris as well. 5 laps remaining here. Probably going to wait 1 or 2 more laps before we start really pushing. But I don't believe the gradation here is too terrible. We might actually be in a position right now to start pushing. This is basically the gap that we need to have here. And it does hint towards us having safe tie if we do start pushing now. So what I think we do here is actually we start going full attack. We should be okay with the tires, and we kind of need to for Hamilton to close down Alonso, but also for Leclerc to do a little bit of clearing here of the cars ahead. He isn't too far off the lead, just 10 seconds. He is 6-7 seconds off the podium. So Leclerc still has opportunities. Hamilton has an opportunity here to kind of push and try and catch Alonso. I do want to leave Bottas behind if we can. Should manage the ERS a little bit better, save a little bit of energy at this point. But we are closing that gap, and that is good, as I assume Leclerc got bullied here because he lost a lot of time there and got doubly overtaken again. So yeah, that's unfortunate that they can just bully you off the track with no repercussions. Yeah, Leclerc now. Magnussen should be clean pickings here. And now we are back in 7th. 2 seconds up to Porsche Norris. And then another couple of seconds up to Ocon. And with 4 seconds to go here, I do kind of feel like it's doable. We are having problems, however, catching Alonso. And that is also due to the fact that we are switching back and forth with the car behind. We are gaining about half a second a lap. That's a little bit too little. We only have 3-4 laps remaining. We might get one chance at DRS, and that might be enough, but we'll have to wait and see. For Leclerc here, Porsche is his next meal. As is that Verstappen setting fastest lap? It is, after he pitted at the back. Yeah, Hamilton and Bottas are definitely, wasting a little bit of time here. I don't think I can afford to recharge. I think we're just going to try our best and then deploy towards the end. And for Leclerc here, we just need to clear these guys. So do a little bit of deploy. Get past one, turn it back to neutral. And then try and get the other car with DRS. With 3 laps to go now, we should, as I mentioned, potentially catch Ocon here. But I think that is the limit for Leclerc, for Hamilton. We're going to go ahead and deploy. We're going to go ahead and gamble. We're 2.5 seconds behind. We need to close down 1.5 seconds. We have 60% battery. We are going to try and use all of our battery here to catch Verstappen, if Bottas will let us. And that is a big if. Did I say Verstappen? I meant Alonso, of course. That's how ingrained the boogeyman is, that you misrepresent the actual boogeyman, in this case Alonso. But yeah, he's just too quick for us, honestly. Similar lap times that last lap. Just can't make it happen, as Leclerc does overtake Ocon.
And it was involving Leclerc this time.
DRS down the straight just slips right past. Question now is, can Leclerc do more, or is that the limit of what we can do? 3 seconds a lap, I think, is dreaming. But at the same time, I would love to just dislodge Ocon completely, so we don't need to worry about him. Although that might be a difficult thing to do here in the cornery section. Remember, our car is currently awful in the corners. We always made it happen, though, so it's not completely impossible. The final lap is starting. We need to push here. Hamilton is not getting Alonso. That's just not happening. He is just keeping that distance even with the tire disadvantage at the moment. So yeah, nothing we can do. Leclerc has been re-overtaken by Ocon, which is a problem, but I think DRS can make short work of him again. So I am not too worried here. And even if we don't get the move made here, we have one hole straight here, and with DRS and ERS, we should be able to get a little bit of vengeance here. Just like that. Alonso wins.
And just a reminder on DRS.
Hamilton comes second, Bottas third, and Leclerc just barely holds off Ocon here.
Well done, guys.
Honestly, a decent enough showing here, particularly with the poor quality from Leclerc.
So you'll be coming into the pit lane.
Could probably have caught... I don't think we could have caught Bottas. Alonso was just too quick. Let's see what we end up doing here for the race itself. The qualifying here for Miami itself went swimmingly. We ended up third and fourth, meaning that we are lining up side by side on the second row behind Bottas and Alonso, who has been doing really, really well. Can't lie. Verstappen had another bad one here out in Q1, and again, I would be surprised if they don't switch out that engine. It's definitely slowing him down quite a lot. And aside from that, no huge surprises really that I'd dare say. A little bit surprising that we actually qualified as high as we did. But this is a good chance here to score some points and hopefully close down that gap a little bit to Red Bull, because it is getting dangerously high. Now, because we had wet sprint quali, we have a lot of tires. 4 mediums, a hard, 2 softs, and for Hamilton here, I believe he has a soft, 4 mediums, and a hard. So yeah, very comparable, very interesting, because it's going to allow us to kind of play around a little bit with strategies. We could do something like a medium into a hard into another medium full attack for the entire race. That is now a viable strategy. As you can see, it's about 20 seconds, 21 seconds, depending on when we pit, quicker than the initial strategy suggested here. We can compare, say, the light soft strategies that we enjoyed using to other combinations. See if we do a medium, how would that look? Would it be a lot quicker than what was offered here? And the reality situation is probably not. There's a 9-second difference here. In theory, we could probably pit a little bit earlier, run a little bit more aggressive, and maybe earn back a little bit more time like that. But medium on medium here does seem to be really, really good. We also do have, again, a little bit of extra spare tire, which should be decent enough. But what if we do attack medium into a light? How's that going to look? Very, not really super comparable, but basically those 3 seconds probably can be gained here. But we have a lot of freedom. I think I want to try something different. I think I want to try the medium, hard, medium. Because I don't get a lot of chance of doing it. Because again, I simulate practice for most of the time so that I can actually have time to make these videos. Because practice can be quite time consuming. So, since I've been given this opportunity to run a medium, hard, medium, let's do it. It is also really, really good around here, particularly with full attack and high tire preservation. So, what the heck? Let's give it a go. I'm going to remember to underfuel this time. I forgot last time. Probably cost us a position or 2 for our cars, which, you know, can happen. But hopefully in this one, we'll do a smidge better. That's going to be my hope anyways. Medium, hard, medium for both cars, full attack the entire way. Let's see if we can translate that into a decent result here for our boys. So we're starting pretty high up the order.
Well then, here we go with the Miami Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Let's go, Go for it.
So there we are. Both boys have been set up, full aggressive, full attack. And honestly, decent enough start. We retain our positions. And we will now start the hunt. I can imagine Alonso and Bottas here on the soft tires are going to create a bit of a gap. But again, that shouldn't be a huge deal. It's kind of what the AI does at the start of the races on hard. So it's as expected. Hopefully our boys here don't fight each other too hard though. We do need them to kind of catch up to the Red Bull and the Aston. But so far, it's looking good. We'll just let things continue as they are for the time being. And we'll see if we manage to close down that gap. And maybe cause a little bit of problems for Alonso. Our first stint here has gone to plan. We are currently 3rd and 5th as Hamilton had an incident where Norris bullied him off the track. We have also seen our first pit stop here with Norris being the one furthest up. Just a reminder, the time to pit around here is about 21 seconds, so not really long. And if we do pit here, Hamilton is going to come out behind Norris, but I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. We could have both Gasly and Albon slow them down a little bit, so we're going to stay out probably for a lap or two more, just to be on the safe side. I think it's better to hold the tire advantage in our hands, and that's kind of what we're going to gamble on here. Now, Leclerc and also Hamilton here have the tire degradation has been as expected. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm mumbling a little bit here. The tire degradation has been as expected, and that is good. I think we kind of do need to pit Leclerc here. It's going to come out somewhere between Verstappen and Norris if everything goes well. But at the same time, I just want to stay out a few more laps. There are cars that need to pit here. Verstappen, Gasly, Albon. And honestly, staying out isn't the worst thing here. We'll have a tire advantage over Norris. We can recharge behind them and then just create the gap. We have also enough of a distance between our two cars here that double stacking is viable. And we'll do that on this following lap. Staying out a little bit longer than maybe I should, but as I said, it's not really a huge deal. So we'll handle it as best we can. As once again, Hamilton gets a little bit bullied in the first couple of corners. It is unfortunate, but it happens in the game. Okay, let's see what we can expect now from Leclerc. 21 seconds, remember. Probably going to come out behind the two McLarens. I'm not too bothered by that, really. Again, we can translate that tire advantage to later on. Slow stop for Leclerc, slow stop for Alonso. He's actually now behind us. And for Hamilton here, he's actually doing an extra lap. One more than anticipated. But yeah, Alonso had a slow stop and he ended up behind us. He's on a soft tire. I'm curious how quickly he's going to burn that up. And for Hamilton here now, we have Ocon in the lead in an RB. But yeah, definitely the next lap pitting did not work as intended there because the lap we were on wasn't complete. But even so, it still took a little bit of time. Did an extra happy lap there. As long as Leclerc can stay with Alonso here, that's going to be amazing as well. But yeah, bit of an unfortunate timing to Hamilton stop here. It's going to come out very far down the order in 11th. Hopefully, can keep the cars behind at bay. If he gets overtaken by one of them, that's fine. Again, tire temperatures going up is going to make him competitive again. But yeah, not the best stop we've ever had, and it might be in a little bit of trouble. But we'll have to see what Alonso can do this afterwards. I can imagine him going on a hard. That will be our chance to gain a little bit of time back. We now have a red flag as Russell has binned it, unfortunately. We're in 4th and 5th there. Not the world's best position to be in. But Russell has binned it. He's parked on the track on the racing line. It's very understandable that that just straight up goes to a red flag. I probably should have paused there and seen exactly where we find ourselves. 20 laps remaining. We're about to pitch a medium anyway, so we'll just run aggressive instead of you know, full attack, and that'll do the trick. We could also go for a light soft, but the difference in these tires are not enough that I think that is going to be viable this late. So yeah, we're just going to go to the medium here. Didn't really work out in our advantage because Alonso would have needed to pit relatively soon. As you can see here, all three of these cars I had would have had to pit within the next few laps. So Alonso got saved here, Bottas got saved here, Ocon got saved here. Piastri is going to be fuming, so is Norris. We're kind of happy, but also not. So yeah, not the best timing for that red flag, unfortunately for us.
All drivers have taken their positions again. Once more.
I'm pretty sure that I'm seeing everyone on medium tires. And this basically now has become a sprint race. There's 19 laps remaining. And I think what we're going to do is just treat it like a sprint race. We're going to run it light.
Take care of the tires.
Because honestly, there isn't much else we can do here. We're just going to have to try and treat it as a sprint race now. For the last 19 laps here, see what we can do. Hamilton in 7th, Leclerc in 3rd, fighting Ocon. And honestly, this probably throws a bit of a wrench in the plans there. I don't think running the mediums on light is necessarily needed here. Standard would also do the trick. You can run them aggressive. I think we run aggressive and then we go full attack at the end. Yeah, aggressive full attack at the end does seem to be the better option than running just light here. So let's tune our cars up just a little bit. Also, should probably be deploying both cars, not just Hamilton. As Leclerc does get overtaken there. But we're 90 laps to go. We're going to try and manage with aggressive mediums. Hopefully we can make something happen. But yeah, it's a bit of a poorly timed red flag for us, unfortunately. Red flag has made our life a bit difficult here. Leclerc is down into 5th. Hamilton is in 7th. And honestly, at this point, with a few laps to go, I think we're just going to go full attack. We should have enough time to make it work. And we are kind of in a bit of a press position. Both the McLarens are causing us a little bit of pain. And for Hamilton here, we do need to try and break away from Norris. And that is going to be difficult. And honestly, the situation here isn't much different for Leclerc. We do need to break away from Piastri as well. But the McLarens are kind of playing wingman right now to Alonso and Bottas. And making us lose a lot of time because we straight up can't get away from them in the corners. And that is very painful, for one, but also incredibly frustrating in another sense. You can even see it here. We just have no chance of getting away, even with a sizable tire advantage. Like, we have a sizable tire advantage now, and even then, with the energy push, with everything, it's basically very, very difficult getting away in the corners here. And that is a bit problematic. I think the goal here for Leclerc is going to be to try and capture Ocon and get it on the podium. For Hamilton, if we can catch Piastri, it would be huge, but I don't see that as being likely. Let's see if Leclerc can do enough here to close down to Ocon. With 3 laps to go here, we have caught up to Porsche, and we actually just overtaken him. We have Ocon ahead. And with a full battery, with extra fuel to spare, and a decent enough tire advantage, getting on the podium is viable. And not only that, catching Bottas here might even be viable if we go ahead and push and do a little bit of deploy here. It's also a bit of a gamble because either we deploy and get away, or we deploy and waste energy here in the hopes of closing down to Bottas, which honestly, both of these could backfire tremendously. But Ocon is actually keeping up with us, and that is worrisome. The gap to Bottas, though, is shrinking quickly, down to 2 seconds now, and we still have plenty of energy. So if we keep this up, second place might be on the table. Fuel, though, is a concern. We do need to tune that down. Hamilton here, can't really do much with him, so he'll just have to live as he is. But we have actually caught Bottas here, so we're going to tune down to neutral. We're going to try and do a little bit of harvesting while staying behind. Get that energy back and become a threat on probably the final lap here. Going to do a little bit of management on when we save energy. Yeah, that is actually a decent overtake. We'll take that. Put him back to neutral. We kind of have enough battery here that if we do get overtaken before the last lap, we can just deploy and get back ahead. I think that would just work out just fine. And for Hamilton, he is actually closing down a little bit to the car in front. We're going to push and deploy here. Need to try and keep an eye on him so we don't actually run out of fuel, as that would be pretty sad. But yeah, Leclerc now is going to get re-overtake Bottas. And I honestly think as long as we use DRS in the last straight there, we will be okay. Hamilton's used his entire battery to no avail. He's still 2.5 seconds down the road. We did lose a lot of time being bullied. We did also lose a little bit of time on the pit stop. If we had avoided those, maybe we could have done a little bit better here. But yeah, we're going to deploy the second we're done with this straight. I think Bottas is going to actually get us a little bit earlier than I'd like. Let's go ahead and go full deploy here with Leclerc. Hamilton, 7th is probably the best we can hope for, which is unfortunate, but red flag did play a hand in that. And sometimes you just don't get what you want. Leclerc, however, did get Bottas here, and that should be second place in the bag. That's all I can hope for. And we do, in fact, take second place there. Alonso, once again, showing a masterclass, being a lot quicker than the rest of the field. And again, a bit unfortunate for Hamilton, a bit unfortunate for us, but with Verstappen outside the points,
And into the pit lane.
it's still not good, let's face it. It's still not good, even if we did okay here. Let's see where the standings put us here after this race weekend, because, yeah, Alonso's drunk. Alonso dangerous. Drivers, Alonso increased his lead to almost 40 points. Gained 10 points this weekend on Leclerc, who is now up into second place. And in terms of constructors here, 40 points now. It's where we find ourselves behind Red Bull. We actually gained 3 points on this weekend. But I can't imagine that the Red Bulls are going to be keeping Verstappen on that old broken engine for much longer. And honestly, we too are having a little bit of a problem with our engines. We are probably suffering as a result, but we'll take a quick look at it now. Basically, if we go into our cars and our powertrain, we have hit 40%, we have hit 30%. And basically, we're going to be replacing these next race weekend. I just like to wait until the sprint is done to replace them. So we'll do that when we go into Imola. We also did get a suspension research done, I believe. Yes, we did get a suspension research or design complete. But we'll leave that for next time. Hope you enjoyed. Finding this quite interesting. Alonso is currently being a absolute menace. Hopefully he'll fall off a little bit later on in the season. There isn't really much we can do in terms of development right now, so we might have to switch to research, try again next year. But I would really, really love to get a victory out this year if possible. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.